There are awesome hidden details throughout Call of Duty that I bet a lot of you missed while playing. So today, we are going to go over the best hidden detail in every COD. Let's dive in. Let's start this off in Call of Duty 4 with the opening mission called FNG. Now, in this mission, you get the opportunity to do the training course, and we all remember this training course. Now, the goal is to obviously do it as quickly as possible, and once you get done, Captain Price will make a comment about your performance.
Pretty good, Soap, but I've seen better.
Now, like most of you guys at home, the first time I played this game, I tried the course multiple times, attempting to improve my score each time. But here's the funny part. No matter how well you do on this course, Captain Price will still give you a backhanded compliment.
Perhaps it was a mistake to let you skip the obstacle course.
Now, in Call of Duty World at War, during the opening mission, you fight alongside Corporal Roebuck as your squad pushes through enemy territory. Now, near the end of the mission, something significant happens. Sergeant Sullivan is suddenly stabbed by a Japanese soldier. Now, if you're paying close attention, you'll notice that Roebuck's rank immediately changes from corporal to sergeant right after this moment. This subtle detail actually signifies two things at once. One, Sullivan is dead, and two, Roebuck, being next in the chain of command, has now taken over leadership of the squad. Next up in MW2, once again, we're going to the opening mission, SSDD. Now, you're showing a few soldiers on how to shoot targets and throw grenades. Now, once you finish that, Sergeant Foley tells you that General Shepard wants to see you run the course. Now, as you head over there, you walk by a few soldiers playing basketball and some just hanging out. Well, if you go over to the two that are sitting and chilling, you can actually hear them arguing about a team that visited the HQ yesterday. They're talking about someone with a mask and someone with a mohawk. Now, they're obviously talking about Task Force 141. They even talk about how well the mohawk guy did on the shooting course.
You guys see that Delta team that came through here yesterday?
I don't think those guys were Delta.
I don't know. I'm pretty sure some of them were Delta. Except for maybe that dude with the freaky mask.
I remember that guy. He was totally non-regulation, man.
Oh, you think? What about that dude with the mohawk?
Bender says he saw that mohawk guy bitch slap the D-boys on the shooting course.
Now, this is an interesting one and has never been proven if it was meant to be there or if it was a glitch. But with Treyarch, you never really know. Now, in the mission where you attempt to assassinate Castro, you actually shoot him and kill him. Now, of course, we know that now he's actually a body double, but in the moment, you don't. Now, here's the crazy part. The game actually gives you a subtle hint that Castro is still roaming free. When you put your reticle over the body, it still has a red outline, signifying that he's still alive. Now, we all know this scene in Modern Warfare 3. Soap dies and Price places a pistol on his body. But that M1911 has a wild backstory. That M1911 originally belonged to Captain McMillan, who then gave it to Price during the mission All Gillied Up in 1996. Now, years later in COD 4, when Price is badly wounded after the bridge explosion, he slides the pistol to Soap, who uses it to kill Zakayev and end the threat. Now, in MW2, when Task Force 141 breaks Price out of the Gulag, Soap returns the M1911 to him. This is a symbolic gesture showing their bond and that he never forgot what Price did for him. Then we return to Modern Warfare 3, and after Soap is killed by the explosion in Prague, Price returns it to him one last time. Now, this one is really cool. In Black Ops 2, the mission Old Wounds, you end up hallucinating and seeing Reznov. Now, at the time, there could have been thoughts that he was real and that he was back, but if you pay attention, you can actually rule this out right away, as Reznov has all 10 fingers. Now, this is going to take you back to World at War, where he was missing his trigger finger on his right hand since his first appearance. And that is why you did all the sniping in the mission Vendetta in World at War. Now we are on to Call of Duty Ghosts, and we are going to the final mission called Ghost Killer. Now, your goal in this mission is pretty simple: end Rourke in his reign. Now, we of course get to a point where we shoot him as the train launches into the water. Now, it seems like you did what you set out to do and defeated Rourke. Now, all of us who finished this campaign now know that Rourke actually survives and the game ends on a cliffhanger. But there is a hint of his survival earlier. As you drag Hesh out of the water to the surface, if you look back, Rourke actually isn't there. Next up, we are on Advanced Warfare, and we're going to need a little bit of a history lesson with this one. Sledgehammer Games is a Call of Duty studio now, and they were brought in to develop and help Modern Warfare 3. Now, after that, they actually got their own opportunity to make their own game, and it was Advanced Warfare. Now, as many of you know, they introduced supply drops and DLC weapons. Well, over time, Sledgehammer started to add guns that were in the World War II era. The MP40, the STG, the M1 Garand. And this wasn't on accident, as Sledgehammer's next game was actually Call of Duty World War II. They were giving people a taste of the next game without them even noticing it. Now, Black Ops 3 takes us to the multiplayer map Infection. And if you know your COD history, it's not actually the only map on this map. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, if you go to the middle of the map and look to your left on the wall and look up, you can actually see a bunch of buildings that look similar to those in the main map itself. But this is actually a one-to-one replica of Carrington from Call of Duty 2. Now, many folks speculated that it would come to the game in a DLC, but it never did. Also, another weird fact is Treyarch made BO3 and Infinity Ward made COD 2. This crossover typically doesn't happen within games. Now, I know many of you didn't play Infinite Warfare multiplayer, but we are going to hang here for a second with the map Breakout. Now, this map has a wall where you can obviously run onto because we are in the jetpack era, but it's not just an ordinary wall. It actually seems to be a prison, as you can see multiple prisoners scattered throughout. Now, this could be a reference to the campaign, as the Settlement Defense Front would just throw people in prison to anyone who would oppose their mission. And then we have the COD 4 Remaster, which, even though its campaign was pretty much identical to the original, Raven Software went ahead and added a nice little detail to one of the missions. In One Shot, One Kill, when you're instructed to kill a KAV, if you turn your attention away from the target and instead to the cars in the back, you can now spot Makarov and Yuri in the background. Now, this matches their perspective of the same scene that we see later in MW3. On top of that, you're able to shoot Makarov back there in addition to Zakayev, and you'll be awarded the achievement Time Paradox, since you effectively just stopped the rest of the trilogy from even happening. And you know what? While we're talking about Raven closing up some plot holes through their remasters, let's take a quick look at MW2's remaster, where similarly on the mission No Russian, if you backtrack to the elevator you emerged from, you can find Yuri now crawling on the floor. Again, matching the same flashback scene in MW3, where we see his perspective on the two incidents. It's small details like this that really makes me wish we got an MW3 remastered. Now, in Call of Duty World War II, if you take the time to explore, you'll start to notice a familiar piece of graffiti popping up in various places throughout the game. Whether it's hidden in the headquarters, the social space, or tucked away on multiplayer maps like Ardennes Forest and Pointe du Hoc, you'll find the iconic Kilroy was here, doodled in different spots. This is actually a fantastic historical Easter egg by the developers. During the real World War II, Americans became famous for drawing this simple cartoon on virtually every surface they could find. Now, this graffiti showed up across Europe and Asia, and according to legend, even in Stalin's private bathroom during the Potsdam Conference. This became a symbol of American presence and a morale booster for troops, as a way of saying we were here whenever they wanted. Now, in Call of Duty Black Ops 4, the multiplayer map Hacienda is packed with hidden interactive elements that most players run right past without even noticing. The map features several interactive buttons scattered around the mansion. One of them would open and close the door to a hidden room near the center of the map on the main floor. Essentially, it was a secret panic room. Interacting with the button inside this room will close off the area completely, which I guess could be useful when trying to avoid conflict. But that's not all. There's also a button that turns on the water fountain in the center of the map, and another that rotates the supercar in the garage. If you didn't know that existed before this video, leave a like. Now in Modern Warfare 2019, during the Highway of Death mission, you'll find yourself in a sniping segment where Alex needs to adjust to long-range shooting. To help zero in on his aim, he uses a watermelon as target practice. After blowing the fruit to pieces, Hadir comments, "Your fruit killing skills are remarkable."
Hit.
If that line sounds familiar, it's because it should be. It's a direct callback to the very first Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare.
Nice. Your fruit killing skills are remarkable.
It's a small but clever nod that longtime fans of the series will immediately recognize when they boot up MW19. Now in Black Ops Cold War, there's a detail hiding in plain sight throughout the entire campaign that most players don't catch until it's too late. Now throughout your missions, Adler repeatedly says the phrase, "We've got a job to do," to your character Bell. Now it sounds like a standard military talk, something a commanding officer would say to keep the team focused. You don't think anything of it, but near the end of the campaign, the truth comes out. Bell was actually brainwashed by the CIA through their MK Ultra program. And that phrase isn't just motivation, it's a trigger phrase used to keep Bell under control. If you go back and replay the earlier missions, you'll notice Adler uses variations of this same phrase.
We've got a job to do. Remember, we got a job to do. We got a job to do.
Whenever he says this, Bell needs to fall in line. In Call of Duty Vanguard, during the campaign, you encounter a character named Howard. At first, the name might seem familiar if you played previous entries in the series, but as it turns out, this Howard is actually the brother of Howard who appeared in Call of Duty World War II. If you remember, that Howard was the guy stationed at the HQ who would give you your orders and assignments throughout the game. Now, many people didn't play Vanguard, but it is a small but neat connection between the two titles and linking the stories across the theaters of World War II. Now, in Modern Warfare 2, during the direct action mission, we see the betrayal of Philip Graves and Shadow Company against Task Force 141. But once again, there's a scene that contains a subtle detail that foreshadows this turn. If you pay attention to the colors on the name of the subtitles, Graves' name color changes from blue to red immediately after he stops Alejandro from entering his own compound and mentions General Shepard. Now we're on to MW3, and well, we all know this campaign wasn't the best. Actually, it was probably one of the worst ever, but a cool little hidden detail in the stadium mission, as you drive past the civilians, you actually pass by an ambulance. Obviously, at the speed you're going, you think nothing of it. But if you slow down the footage, you actually see a familiar face. Yes, Makarov is actually in the back of that ambulance. And this perfectly foreshadows his eventual capture, when much later in the mission, Price and Soap eventually find him inside and have to escort him out of the area. Now, in Black Ops 6, the developers paid close attention to the time period the game is set in. Now, it takes place in the 90s, and gaming had already become a part of mainstream culture, and Treyarch made sure to reflect that in the environment. If you take the time to explore the Rook, the former KGB safe house that serves as your base of operations, you'll find a game console tucked away. Now, the game on display is called Pitfall, and this was the iconic side-scrolling adventure that originally debuted on the Atari 2600 back in 1982. And the best part about it is, Activision was actually the ones who published this game all those decades ago. And finally, we are on Black Ops 7, and this takes us to the multiplayer map, The Forge. Now, this map was in the beta, and most of you probably never noticed this till the full game came out. If you are on the side with the massive statue, you need to do one simple thing. Turn around and look outside of the map. When you do this, you'll actually see a boat. Now, if you played Black Ops 6 long enough, you'll see that this is no ordinary boat. It's the Riviera Rogue, which is the map Lifeline. And this map was pretty much playable in gunfight and small map mosh pits. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That is the best hidden detail in every single Call of Duty. I hope you enjoyed this video. I actually hope that some of you guys didn't know a lot of these and you were taught an educational lesson today in the Call of Duty world. Once again, thank you all so much for the support. If you did enjoy the video, leave a like, subscribe if you're new, and we'll see you in the next one.